Hi, my name is Malia McGadden, and I'm going to be talking about the book The Voice Catchers by Joseph Turow. So this book talks about voice profiling and privacy and marketing with that. So in this presentation, I will talk about 3 interesting things that I found in the book, and then I'll explore the potential impacts on my favorite brand, and then I'll discuss how the brand can use customer data to create contextual experiences. So first off, I thought that was pretty interesting, the development and the advancement of these AI devices in our homes and our phones that are being more prevalent around us. And I thought this integration of more personal thoughts and responses that have been implemented into these AI devices was really interesting. For example, the use of commas to try and make them sound more human and to have a more personal feel, to make people more comfortable with using these devices. They also had these devices use words like and like to again sound more human and more personal, like you weren't just talking to a machine or a computer. I also thought it was really interesting how the use of sci-fi movies and how that really inspired a lot of these bigger companies. For example, Jeff Bezos referring to Star Trek when he first thought of creating Alexa. Microsoft's phone assistant Cortana, named after the Halo video game. And then Google naming their assistant Majel, which I believe, is that how you pronounce it, after the Star Trek actor. And the creator's wife, who played Majel, was or helped with a lot of more lines for Google. Going back to this personal or more personal feel to these devices, Siri actually quotes some lines from 2001: A Space Odyssey. And again, these jokes, these inside jokes, or also called Easter eggs, make it more of a selling point and make customers feel a lot more lenient and willing to talk to these devices, and because of that more personal feel. So I think going back a little bit, trying to get answers, say, from a calling agency, say for a tech issue, can be annoying, can feel like a task, and can also be a little angering. So these devices like Alexa, Google HomePod, and Siri make that conversation a lot more lighter by adding that personality feel to the humanoid. So secondly, I also thought it was pretty interesting that the idea of the voice authentication, and how this, by analyzing voices, for example, the length and nature of their nasal passage, the speaker's consonant and vowel sounds and emphasis on either or, and then the rhythm, tone, and rate of speech, thus, or by analyzing these, the device can actually authenticate a voice and be used as a password. So I also thought that the research in voice was really interesting from my biology background, where larger or more obese men have a higher voice and then larger women have a lower voice. And researchers actually said that just on voice recognition, research can estimate the weight of a 5-year-old, which I thought was really interesting. Turow also noted how taller people have a different sound compared to lower people based on the length of their vocal cords and their larger lungs. And finally, stress has an effect on voice. I definitely have seen a ton of people presenting who got more anxious and had a lot more stress, where their voice was kind of jagged and they were out of breath. And so that's a real life example of how stress can have an effect on voice. He also noted how fatigue have an effect on voice, and how voice range and quality differences can also be detected in women when they're on birth control due to hormonal changes. And lastly, there can be a little discrimination against individuals by analyzing voices. For example, different deals may be offered based on inferred health conditions from voice analysis. And also, employers might screen candidates based on perceived personality traits from how they speak. So I'm going to be talking about Apple next for my favorite brand, specifically Siri, and how understanding voice profiling, for example, the anatomy, just like I just talked about, could help Siri towards customer partnership and be more personalized. For example, emotional tone and emotional tone. So if a user had a more emotional tone or rhythm or different type of emphasis on different words, Siri could then respond in a more empathetic response. So the use of data and research, like I discussed earlier, would help Siri understand the context better, leading to better suggestions. And if the user was stressed, maybe offer some calming music or some therapy or some meditation strategies to help that stress. Also, by analyzing voice, Siri could determine fatigue or anything and maybe offer a different sleep schedule through complementing Apple Health. Next, understanding the user and its emotional state could help with more engaging advertisements. Like I said, with the use of voice analyzing to determine stress. More advertisements that helped with a user's stress if they had a lot more stress, and Siri was able to recognize that stress more. More advertisements for stress or fatigue or any other kind of health issues and advertisements regarding that would be a lot more engaging. In addition, using, again, this voice data to recommend features that better meet the user's needs and preferences. We can think of this like TikTok and Instagram, their feed, where if you like or save while you're scrolling, like or save a photo or video or share it or repost it, the feed will automatically give you more videos like that. So using that, but with Siri, that could be with maybe features or advertisements or just recommendations would be very beneficial. I also think with these partnerships, Siri and Apple should communicate how their voice data is being stored, used, collected, analyzed, all that, and should provide the user with a detailed, easy to understand privacy policy, implementing opt-in features and where they can only enable their voice data for specific features, and thus Siri will only analyze and store that data for those specific features. So an example I just thought up was how, say a user just bought an Apple Watch to track a fitness goal. Siri would then ask the user if they would like a personalized fitness coaching, and by saying yes, Apple or Siri would be analyzing, storing, and using their voice. So Siri might conduct a conversation with the user to establish a motivational state if the user, say, was not very motivated for this fitness goal, and establish any stress or fatigue or anything that the user might be wary of. So Siri could then provide coaching tips and words of encouragement and throughout the workout, before and after. And if the user is demotivated, Siri might offer, again, these words of encouragement, or may offer light workouts. If the user is feeling more motivated and energized, Siri might offer a more intense workout. Siri can also detect changes in the voice. Say if it was stressed or if it was more tired, Siri, again, could offer take an easy day and then also do weekly check-ins and then have a conversation on feedback and their workouts, know any improvements or areas for further development. And then based on that review, Siri might adjust the upcoming workout for the next week, creating new goals, modifying any workouts, and suggesting any new activities by analyzing the stress and fatigue throughout the week of working out. So I briefly mentioned before the integration of Apple Health. So Siri, if Siri detects any significant changes in the user that might indicate any health issues, for example, chronic stress or high stress or chronic fatigue, Siri could then tell the user to consult with a healthcare professional or to use Apple's telehealth services. So the benefits with this would be enhancing motivation and consistency, user empowerment, engagement, health management, and improved fitness outcomes. So that concludes my presentation. Thank you very much for listening.